again, Mrs. Joan. Yeah, you were so much a blessing to us last meeting. So as we wait for the other panelists, we shall just get started with you since you've been already in this space. Yes, Madam Joan, I'll ask you to introduce yourself again to the members before I engage you with our first discussion. Thank you. Please open up and take the floor.
Hello. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
I'm
We can
called,
hear you.
yes, I'm called Joanna Simwe, and I was here last week. So I'm glad to be back here. I've just reached home. I'm a bit disorganized, but I'm here.
Yes, you're welcome, Mrs. Joan Asimwe, and it's a blessing to have you once again. Yes, yes, sorry about that disorganization, but we pray that the Lord shall still use you today. Yes, I have a very quick question to you regarding our topic today with the real needs that women need to meet in husband's life, just for purposes of a healthy relationship. Okay, my question to you is that what role does intimacy and connection play in meeting husband's need, and how can women prioritize this? You being a married lady for all those years, you told us, what does
Yes.
intimacy has to play in a healthy relationship of a husband and a wife, and how would you advise the women here how they can do it?
Yes, good evening once again, everyone, and praise the Lord. Now, when we talk about marriage, we cannot talk about marriage without intimacy. Intimacy can be physical, it can be emotional. And I think this was what God intended when He created a man to marry a woman and they stay together. So this connection, this intimacy is very important, because unless you have this connection, unless you have this understanding of each other, the marriage cannot be there. There is no marriage without intimacy. Now, one mistake we make is imagining that intimacy only talks about sex, which is wrong. Because before you talk about that, you need to be connected. You need to be at an emotional level. You need to share your thoughts. You need to share your feelings. You need to share your emotions before you go to the physical intimacy. Because without these, then the physical intimacy cannot be there. It will be a forced transaction. So the physical intimacy, which when we go to the needs of the men, we shall see that it is important. It is very important, and it is the most important. What should I call it? The most important thing why there is marriage. Without emotional intimacy, you cannot have physical intimacy, and you cannot have physical intimacy without emotional intimacy. You need to share, to be friends. Like we said last time, you need to be the man that this woman married, and the woman needs to be the woman this man married. Like Dr. Senyon told us last week, it is two-way. You cannot have it one way. You cannot say, this week we are going to look at the man's needs, and then next week it will be the woman's needs. They are complementary. So now marriage is very practical. Marriage is a very practical thing. It is not something we should discuss like a paper we are presenting, which is to be marked and given marks, because this is life. This is what we are living. Now, the role of intimacy in a relationship is that, first of all, it helps you to open up. It helps you to keep that friendship that you started with. It provides that essential connection. It gives you the chance to have that emotional support, because this is what you need. If you have a marriage where you're not supported emotionally, then it is not working. It is a dead marriage. And then it creates that secure environment. Now, when in life we go through a lot of things, and you need to reach home where you have a secure environment where you can pour out whatever has disturbed you at work or wherever you have been. I've just been stuck in the jam for about an hour and a half. And when you reach home, you might start kicking doors and tables, and people don't know what is happening to you. So you need someone who will welcome you back and talk about the day, and you leave and you relieve that tension, that whatever you have gone through the day. So intimacy helps us to be able to make ourselves weak in front of our spouses. I'm going to talk about spouses because if I say for a man or a woman, it will look as if it is one way. It is for both, for the man and the woman. Therefore, we need a place where we can be, a secure space where we can be vulnerable, where we can be weak, where we can show. Because what happens is that today, like we briefly talked about last week, women have been emancipated, so we want to show that we are strong. And then the man, being a man, he also wants to show that he's a strong man, and therefore he cannot be weak, he cannot be insecure, he cannot be, So you find yourself trying to be what you are not, and that creates tension in the relationship, and it creates that tension in the marriage. So we need to be vulnerable, and we need to have that connection so that we can openly express our challenges, express our fears, express our expectations, our dreams and hopes. And this intimacy helps us in that way. As we said last week, communication is very important. And intimacy helps us to build that open communication and a strong bond, thereby strengthening the marriage. The marriage becomes stronger when you are connected, when you know what your wife is doing and she knows what you're doing. So that strengthens the marriage. And it also strengthens the open communication we talked about. And then this marriage becomes a fulfilling relationship for both of you, for both the man and the woman. Now, the practical needs, the practical ways we can do this, I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about that.
Well, before you get to the practical, probably I went ahead of this because some of us may not really understand what are those real needs. So I would ask you to start with just giving us an overview of what are those real needs that women should actually pay attention to for the sake of that healthy relationship between the husband and the wife. Just expound more on that. Yeah,
On
in terms of real
the
needs.
real
What
needs.
does it mean? What is it all about? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, the real needs of men, it was interesting to discover that unlike women who are emotional and they want affection, men's needs are a bit different. Though I'm sure there is no man who doesn't want to be loved. But I discovered that the most important need of men is respect. Respect, affection. I believe men also want affection. They need honesty. They need intimacy. And for men, it is mostly sexual fulfillment. While the women can be such, not always, but they can want to be intimate in a way of talking about certain things, and you discuss and you talk about what you have gone through. The men, their end goal is always sexual fulfillment. That is a very major need of the men. Then they also need communication, but the three most important ones are respect, sex, and stability. They want their homes to be their safe places, their peace, where they can go and they have peace away from the world where they have been. Briefly, that's what I can say about the needs of the men.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Joan.
Yes.
I believe Professor Digital Digital Papa Dixon, you identify with what Madam Priest is saying here, that the primary need of the man is sexual satisfaction, respect, communication. Yes, please, let's continue engaging the chat about these discussions. You can add on more. If it's anything outside what Mrs. Joan has mentioned, just list it here in the chat. We are blessed to have Robert Maundo. Robert, please just give us a brief introduction about yourself, and then you will tell us from the man's perspective, is that true what Miss Joan is talking about, or there is something more than that?
Thank you so much. I really want to apologize for joining in this call very late. I got a bit caught up in jam, but I am very happy to be here and to join this discussion. My name is Robert Mwando. I am a researcher. I research issues to do with freedom of belief and worship. And I'm directly involved with a ministry that does work with people whose freedoms of belief and expression have been either abused or denied or in some way affected. I'm happy to be joining you. I was traveling from Mbale. I based in Mbale at St. Andrew's Cathedral. But I'm happy to be joining you because I was traveling for a meeting here in Kampala, and so I just arrived my location, and I'm happy to join you. So yeah, indeed, as our first previous speaker has just spoken, the needs of stability and respect are really key in a man's life. Maybe I should have said a little more. I am married. I have been married for 16 years. And I can attest to the fact that respect is a very key issue in marriages or between men and women, even from my own perspective and my own experience. I also wanted to add that companionship is very key. In addition to respect and of course sex, which is one of the very, very amplified needs of a man. But I think beyond that, companionship and friendship is key as well. Because now with all the looseness, with all the, the freedom that people have, if it was sex alone, probably men would be finding it everywhere, since it is almost put into their face everywhere you pass. And so it's important to know that beyond the sex, I think when two people come together and agree to live together as husband and wife, companionship plays a major role as well, and friendship, because beyond just satisfying somebody's sexual desires, I think men also desire to have a companion, somebody that will they will go home to and they will chat with. I think our previous speaker did mention that they need to find a safe place, a safe haven where they can be free to express themselves and be listened to and be heard. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Yes, Dixon put up an expectation that he wants to know those things that he needs the wife to meet in his life. I guess Prim is taking notes. And to me, really, respect stands out. And I want to see that man who doesn't want to be respected in his home. So, Robert, I'm still back to you. Do you think there are some of those small things which seem to be pertinent to men and they are being overlooked, but they are just experiences that men go through, but unfortunately they fear to voice out?
Absolutely. I think the one that is very normally overlooked, that single need that husband often experience but rarely voice, is the desire for emotional safety. I think it has already been alluded to, a safe place. You know, from most cultures, including our African culture, we know that we are raised to be men, we are raised to be problem solvers, we are raised to be providers, we are told you have to fix it. And so men tend to have a very big gap when it comes to pouring out their emotions. So the upbringing of men is in such a way that we are told to man up, we are told to be strong, we are told to fix it. And so men tend to hold back in the area of emotional expression. And so you do find that that is the one need that a wife would very well meet if they had that ability to create a safe space for the man to be vulnerable, to open up, to say exactly how they feel. Imagine coming from work. There's a lot that is on your mind, a lot that you're carrying on your shoulder, in addition to the responsibility of being a husband, being a father, being a provider, being a protector of the home, and you have no one to talk to about it. That leaves a man in such a place that they would, I think, they would sometime just break up, or if they don't burst out, they will at one point isolate themselves, go to that place that we normally call the man cave, just to process things. And so if our wives would make the home the man cave, the place where we retire and we are able to find that safety emotionally and be vulnerable and open up and share our experiences, how our day has gone. I think it would make a lot of meaning to a husband.
Yes, thank you so much, Robert. I think for me, uh, that bit of man up stands out for me. And I will ask Joanne, since it mainly comes from ladies, men, when you seem to express yourself, I mean, that bit of vulnerability, there is that always message that comes up, that man up. What does it mean from the perspective of women? Yes, Joanne.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to thank Robert for that input because he's a man, he understands better the needs of the men. Now, for the women, actually, I would imagine that we enjoy knowing that our men are human beings. Like we have always said, communication is key. And unless we communicate, we shall not know what is happening. Now, what happens practically is that the man comes home and he sits there while the woman is doing a lot of things around the house. And unless there is communication, unless you're asking him about his day and he's talking about it, sometimes you don't even have to ask. You'll come in and say, hey, today was like this and this. Then you'll not know what is happening. Now, the women, sometimes you are left wondering what is happening. Did he quarrel at his workplace? Did he, Sometimes you may even ask, because as he said, the bringing of men doesn't make it easy for them to open up. They want to show that they are in charge and they are taking they are put together. They are not, they don't want to show any weakness. So there is need for the men to open up, because the women want to be involved. They want to know what is happening. They always want to know what you have been through, even to the smallest things. Did you have lunch? Did you see so and so? Did you? But the men tend to clamp up. They tend to not want to talk about certain things, imagining that it will make them less of men. So the women want the men to open up and tell them and talk to them, not at them, but talk to them and discuss, so that they better understand what you are going through. Have I answered your question, or?
Yes, you have answered it, but I really wanted a bit of, where nowadays it feels like women are so more empowered than men, and to some extent, probably men find it hard to really express their needs before their spouses. Uh, could that be something which is affecting the boy child who later transitions into the husband?
Yes, last week we briefly talked about it. Even us women, when we heard about this emancipation thing, we took it, it went to our heads. We imagined that now we have to be in charge. I have to show that I'm a woman, and this woman who can do anything a man can do. Now we forget that God ordained the men to be the heads of the families. Some women want to take over and show that they are women and they are emancipated and they are educated. They have their jobs. They have, they can lead the family. But and again, the men now have kind of withdrawn. Not all of them don't show it. Some of the men, they have withdrawn, and therefore that creates some kind of tension, because the men cannot talk about their vulnerabilities, their weaknesses, because they fear being less of men. And then the women are trying to show that they are in charge, even in the home, which is not right. We need to know our place. The women need to know that they are women. Whether you have 10 degrees, whether you are the president of the country, whatever you are still a woman. And marriage was designed by God, and men are the heads of the families. So the men need to take charge. They need to know that whatever happens, they are still men. And if you talk about your weaknesses and your challenges, it doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't. Actually, it shows that you're human. It shows that you can go through this like any other human being. So the ladies need to know that however emancipated they are, the man should still be in charge. And the men should wake up and take their roles. Because some men have also decided and said, okay, if you are in charge, I can see you have a job, so pay the rent, take care of the home, because you are emancipated and you have a job and they have neglected their duties. Now, this is why you find that today we have a lot of tension, sometimes simmering below there, which is not seen openly. We smile and, we are in the same car, but Mr. is saying, put in fuel, don't you work? When I would also want to be a woman, I would also want to be taken care of. But because I have shown that I'm emancipated and I can do things, so that tension is what is bringing problems today. But the women need to go back and know that they are women. And then the men need to style up, as it were, style up and take on their responsibilities.
Yes, thank you
And
so much.
I will request the men to add.
Okay. Yeah, some ladies here is saying that when they tell you man up, it means that you need to do things as a mature person. So when your spouse, your wife tells you man up, just know that probably you're acting immature. That's what I'm picking from some lady. And then someone says respect is expressed in a very simple way. Iggy, if a man is hungry, the lady shouldn't look on as he serves himself food. She must serve him. And one point someone said the best way to reach the man's heart is through what? Food. Men, we want food. We love food. So if you need to get the heart of your man, just give him good food. Yes, so I'll come to you, Robert. Yes, you've gone through some challenges before as a man, and you definitely need that emotional support or validation from your spouse. How would you advise the ladies here logged in on how to do it best?
Thank you very much. I should say that we cannot overemphasize effective communication much more than it has already been emphasized by Johan. It's very important that we cultivate a way of communicating that not only in words, but even in our expressions, somebody feels that they are respected. You know how sometimes ladies have a way of expressing things with non-verbal communication that will be saying exactly the opposite of what their words are meaning. Or sometimes the non-verbal communication would even exaggerate the verbal that they are already saying, like rolling eyes, like, measuring somebody from head to toe, just making somebody know that whatever they have said doesn't count. And so for me, respect should be both in speech and in attitude. If really you respect me, I think many times we will not disagree on everything, especially suggestions that are coming from me as a man. Even when you disagree, there is a way we can disagree, but we later on discuss and agree on a way forward. But what happens sometimes is that you will find a couple, a lady who is thinking that they are actually respecting their husband, but the non-verbal, the non-verbal and the attitude they hold is actually saying something different. So for me, I would suggest this, that in communication, we need to use open-ended prompts. Joan mentioned that, men will come back and collapse into the sofa and probably just turn on the TV, and they do not start a conversation because they have been raised to man up. So in such a scenario, I would suggest that our spouses can come and initiate the conversation, because literally ladies are much better at conversation than men. And you could start by asking them, tell me more about your day. How did it feel when you're treated like this in the office? Let the man feel that you acknowledge his feelings. Once they realize that you acknowledge their feeling by mirroring back what they're saying, it will create that, diffuse the tension that is already there, that he has carried from wherever he's coming from his workplace or whatever he has faced during the day, and it is diffused. Unfortunately, many scenarios have played out where, the lady is also stressed by probably another thing from their place of work or from home or the children. And the moment the man walks in, the first thing is to snap at each other. This one is saying, we don't have food in this house. The man is saying, but I left money here. And so it becomes an escalation of, tension within the home. So I think it is two-way, but this is what I believe that wives could do by de-escalating that tension that is already coming from somewhere else, by being understanding, making somebody feel assured that even though that has not gone the way they expected, you still believe in them. That shows really that you respect your man and you believe in the vision they carry. So say, I believe in you. I may not figure it out now, but I know you will make it. Do not, I think you should not hurry into reminding them, but you know you're a man, you can face it. Or do not hurry into telling them about what they could do or offering solutions. Just also let it seem like you're listening attentively, validate them. If there was something that they did in the course of the narration about their day, and there was some positive, validate it. Say that was a great win. Let's celebrate that win, rather than focusing on what did not go right. And then, of course, eventually, that should be able to lead into an intimate moment, like you have all had. Most men, sex would be that point where they are really releasing all their tensions. But it cannot come if the tension has not yet been diffused along the way. So that's what I can say about how to deal with some of these things, how ladies can actually support, and to the point where we are at the same page and we are feeling free and safe to express ourselves as far as our emotions are concerned.
Great. Thank you so much, Robert. We have Mrs. Feta on the call. Yes, Mrs. Feta, I will ask you to briefly introduce yourself and also give us your understanding of the topic. Briefly. Mrs. Feta? You're still muted, just in case you're speaking. Okay, so Mrs. Joan, I'll come back to you as Mrs. Feta prepares herself. Yes, Robert has emphasized the point of communication, but there are also issues to do with trust and transparency. How would you advise the women here logged in on how they can build and maintain that level of transparency, trust, and communication for the sake of that healthy relationship?
Yes, thank you very much once again. When you talk about trust and transparency, all that we are talking about can only be achieved if you are friends. Like I said, if you are the way you began, because I'm sure most of us begin a marriage when we are friends. But along the way, things happen. The man becomes a man. The woman now starts, if they get children, she starts diverting her attention, and the friendship is compromised. And this friendship is normally born out of communication that we have talked about. So trust and transparency, you cannot trust someone you don't talk to, and they cannot trust you when you're quiet, because people, they'll be wondering what is going through his mind, what has happened, what have I done, you know? So whatever happens in a marriage, there has to be that friendship, that emotional connection that helps the couple, the man and the woman, to trust each other and to be transparent. Someone is coming in.
Adeline, please help us with that person, that hacker.
Now,
Can hear someone. Let's go
I
ahead.
wanted to being a woman, I wanted to talk about something that we need to do if we are to save our marriages, because truth be told, the men are men. And much as you have, and unfortunately, most men don't get this information. They are there being men while we are here getting information. Now, the women, I've been married for 34 years. So along the way, I have shared some of my emancipation, and I've gone back to being the African woman. You need to calm down and be intentional in dealing with your husband. Now, these men, sometimes they are like children. You need to ask them, you need to coerce them, you need to, to get them out of that shell. And sometimes it is a facade they have put on, and they are not as strong as they want us to believe. So the moment you put in effort to make him speak, or to ask about his day, to ask about his work, to ask about, or sometimes to follow him up and see how he's doing, you discover that this man is actually craving that connection. But there is no way he's going to tell you that, you see, at my job, I'm being, I have a difficult boss, or they cannot say that. So it is the women who have to put in the effort, much as the men should also put in effort. Because now we are saying it is a two-way. But the women need to know that this is their job. They are the ones supposed to be weak, as they say, we should be weak in our strength. Use your weakness, ask questions, be interested in what he's doing, so that it can help this man to come out of the shell he has put himself in of wanting to be a man. So the women usually have discovered that we have to put in more effort than the men, because sometimes men may not even know what they need. They want it, but they don't know how to communicate it. They don't know how to, how to express their feelings or what they are going through. So it is upon the women to find a way of getting them out of that situation. But again, the men should also put in effort. When we get married, the women are treated like a specimen. If you are unlucky to be in an African setting, the woman goes away from her home, and she goes to another person's home. Now she finds herself dropped in a sea of people she has never seen. If she has seen them, they are strangers. The only person you know there is your husband. Now you are there like a specimen. They are observing. What will she do? What can she do? What will she say? How does she see it? And you are there. Now, the moment the husband does not support the woman, you remain a stranger among these new people you have gone to. And this spills over into the marriage. You find that now the man has reverted to his family. He has now, if you are a couple who stays alone, he has now gone to his job because he has married and that is finished. Now he has a job to do. So you find that he puts more time in his job. He puts more time in his friends, maybe in his other activities, maybe football. Somebody is watching football as he's listening. So you find that people do not intentionally put in time to look out for each other, which is a problem, which brings a problem. Much as we are telling the women, Munange, when you see things going like this, you try to be the weaker person and see how you can do it. The men should also support us so that we don't feel drained as if we are the only ones putting in effort, and the man is that's why sometimes even women think the man is no longer there, the man is no longer interested, I'm wasting my time, when in actual sense it's just a problem of miscommunication and lack of communication that is bringing these suspicions and the lack of transparency. So then, much as we try to put in effort, let the men also support us. If I come home and I'm in a bad mood, let the man also ask and try to find out.
Wow, thank you so much, Mrs. Joan. You've talked about that bit of like women, we need to put in more efforts. There is that statement that goes like, show me your home, I will show you the kind of wife you have. Does
Yes.
that qualify what you're talking about? If I come to you,
Yes,
Peace and Robert.
you see the women, they are the homemakers. And if you're going to get peace as a man from your home, then your wife should have that peace, because I cannot give what I don't have. They say that the woman's behavior is a reflection of how she's being treated. If you are a man who comes home and you keep quiet, you don't greet, you don't, you are there, you are a man, then I will also behave like a woman. I'll go back to the kitchen and cook, I look after the children, and then we shall bump into each other when we go to the bedroom. Unfortunately, that is the situation in most marriages. You find that people, they appear to be together. They even move in the same car, they go to work, they come back together, but there is no connection. That connection is not there. They are no longer friends, because the man wanted to get married, he got married and finished. The woman has her children now, she has her job, and quite often we are overwhelmed, by the way. We are overwhelmed by a lot of these things demanding our attention. We have the job, I'm talking about the women. You have a job, you have children, you have workers at home, and this man, as I said, he comes and sits in his chair, puts on TV, or he goes on his phone. So he shows that he's not part of what you're doing. That is your task, that is your job. So the woman becomes overwhelmed, but still, we are supposed to put in effort. When all this is, as I said, I've been there for a very long time. A time comes when you find yourselves two again in the house. Now that time of hiding in the children and hiding in the job, you find that now you have gone back to being two in the house. So if you have not cultivated that friendship, if you have not put in the effort, now you become two strangers staying in the same house and sleeping in the same bed.
Wow. You can imagine two strangers living in the same house, under the same blanket, on the same bed, and there is no friendship.
Unfortunately, when you have been there, you have not been connected, then even the bed will not be connected. You'll have sex for the sake of sex. It will not be fulfilling. It will not be what it should be, because you are not connected. So friendship and communication are very important.
Like when you're done, you let me know.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Yes, Robert. Back to you. I don't know whether Madame Peace is logged in, but I've had that statement: when you're done, you let me know. So,
Yeah.
Robert, do you
Yes.
think appreciation and loyalty as essential to the husbands in terms of a healthy relationship? But you can also talk about when you're done, you let me know.
If I can start with the aspect of that physical affection and intimacy, when you're done, you let me know. I think if there has not been a build up, it may not even happen like that. People will will go to, sometimes they go to the extent of separating rooms or separating beds. because there is no connection, there is no spark. If it so happens that there is when you're done, you let me know, that means really it's either one party who is just forcing themselves onto the other because there is no connection. And so, like Madam Joan has already mentioned, I think it has to be built over time. It has to be cultivated over time so that when you are in an empty nest, all the children are gone, you still have what somebody has put in the chat, the second honeymoon, where you really have the whole house to yourself. You can have it in the former children's bedroom. You can have it in the sitting room, anywhere. But that comes only when you have really had a build up, building a companionship and a friendship that is very strong. To the other part of the question, I think appreciation and reaffirmation of each other definitely is very key. It's a very key ingredient to building a healthy relationship between couples. Imagine if all your efforts as a man to provide end up to, is this what you could provide? If it ends up you come along with a polythene bag, like we call it these days, cavera, and then the wife tells you, is this all you could afford? Is this all you could bring us? Is this the best? I think you'll be deflated. You'll be a very discouraged man. You will not go ahead to do anything sensible. And so there are many ways that I think as people grow in marriage, we tend to take some things for granted. We start to think, oh, okay, he's the provider, he will always provide. And if the wife gets to that point when they start thinking it is obvious, the man will provide, and he will do it because somehow we have been wired and made by God to want to take charge of things, even though sometimes we could be struggling. That appreciation will go a long way in motivating somebody. But also, I think it is a two-way thing. It cannot only be from the wives to their husbands. Men too, we need to appreciate our wives for the tireless things they do. Like Madam Joanna has mentioned, they equally get overwhelmed with stuff. And so just appreciating and saying thank you, that meal was great, I think will really oil our relationships to become more healthy. The other thing that I wanted to mention, which is a very critical need of men, is the area of supporting in terms of real practical things. You know, how women sometimes say, "Sente yange, my money is my money, your money is our money." And you find a man who is going through a lot of stress trying to make ends meet, and the wife could actually make a significant contribution to that, but then they sit back and they wait for the man to provide. I think that practical support, supporting the man's vision, supporting the man's purpose, is very, very key in encouraging a healthy relationship. And I just remember the scripture in I think Proverbs 31, verse 11, which talks about the heart of her husband trusts in her. I think we are blessed. Let me say this for myself, but also for the men in the call. We are blessed when we can go rest assured that the wives in our lives, the women in our lives, have it all taken care of. They are willing to support this vision that we carry. They are willing to hold us up, and they are willing to walk along with us, even including, also that Kameza money for the man, especially when he has hit hard times, when he's probably lost a job, or when that contract hasn't come through, and the woman is capable to do it. It would be really, really nice for them to do it.
Yes, thank you so much, Robert, for speaking into. When you're done, you let me know, and also to speak about the issue of respect, issue of appreciation. I have a colleague in office, he always tells us that for him, whenever he's paid school fees, school fees is an issue in every family, he's bought food, he's paid rent. Yeah, the wife has to kneel down and appreciate, thank him for doing so. And for him, that's why he derives his peace. Yes. And now we have Mrs. Feta. I'm going to, friends, just allow us a maximum of 10 minutes to just get done with this. I'm going to ask Mrs. Peace Feta before we get the parting shots from Robert and Peace and Joan, to just give us an overview about the topic, how she feels about it, that summary in just 5 minutes. Peace.
Thank you very much, Vincent. Thank you, brethren. Apologies, I got issues with my gadgets a little bit, so change of gadgets took me a little bit of time. But yes, I do appreciate the opportunity to be on call with you and to fellowship with each and every one of you. I have listened into the insights from my seniors, I will say, and I agree with some of the things they have said. I have a little reservation in some of the things. And again, I think Auntie Joan will say, that is what we are talking about. That is the emancipation that is affecting us. But yes, when we come back to the topic, the real needs that women should meet in men's lives, it got me thinking and reflecting personally. What exactly does a man need that a woman should meet in their life? And I teased out a few people, had just an open discussion with some people, and just to hear out what exactly they think, to see if I was getting it wrong or in reality, what do they really need? And the one thing that has stood out again and again from all the very many conversations is the men need peace in their homes. And the issue is many are running away because there is no peace at home. We have made the homes to be war zones. We come back home and we are up in arms against each other, and that just puts off people many times. I don't want to say it is the women that quarrel, because I know it takes two to tango. I have had women who have come to complain and the men are quarreling. But ultimately here, we need peace to prevail in their homes for all of us to peacefully coexist. And that is one thing that every man would want. The other things, Auntie Joan, I can't ever emphasize, and Robert have mentioned, the issue or the aspects of respect, the aspect of respect. The men also want to hear that, want to get the support from the women. However, there is a silver lining in that. Sometimes we do not know where we are going overboard. And as Robert has rightly put it, sometimes you need the support, but you are choking because the ego of you being a man does not allow you. I am the man in this home. How do you provide in my home? So those sentiments, those patriarchal sentiments, are holding us back and are killing some people silently. Where you have a spouse that could easily come in and support, you feel you are the man. If the woman does something, then you are going to be belittled. So I think it comes off that we need to have real conversations. We talked about communication. The communication needs to be open. I have known of a friend whose wife earns a lot more than him. And this woman cannot buy salt in the home because she was told the man is supposed to do everything. So she will call him from Kampala, she's in Mukono, and say, we do not have salt at home. And you're thinking, really? You are taking home over 12 million shillings. You cannot buy salt in your own house. And so I think that is sometimes the selfishness that puts off the men from us as women. So the men need us to come and work as a team. When I look at the Proverbs 31 woman, clearly it spells out. It doesn't say anywhere that she sat back and waited for the man to provide and do everything. But coincidentally, it talks about she goes out, finds a field. From her profits, she buys it. Sometimes some men feel uncomfortable when the women buy the fields. Sometimes some women buy the fields and they do not disclose that they have bought the fields. So this kind of game is what is killing us at the end of the day. But if you are open and you are communicating about these things, your money is my money is your money, we will not have issues. We'll just have an open communication. This is how much I have, and this is what we could consider to do. And you agree and move together as a team, such that we are not seen to be playing on opposite teams, but we are actually playing together. The other need that the men have already, Robert, desire from us as women that we should meet is the sexual need. But the sexual need is not only for the men, it's equally for the women. I don't want to feel like I am there to offer and I'm not there to enjoy. I don't want to feel like I'm being used. I want to be part and parcel of the whole process. I want to enjoy just as much as you are enjoying. So as I give myself to you, give yourself to me. So it is not you to receive, to give, me to give and you to receive. No, 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 no. It should be an ultimate goal that out of this, we all derive satisfaction from it. We are meeting each other's needs, other than making one party look like it is their entire responsibility. No, it is purely not only one person's responsibility. It takes two to tango, and we work at this together as a team. I do not want to lay back and say the men should do this and the women should do this, because we have seen times change where we are struggling and we do not have even nannies in homes. So should you sit back as a man because the woman should be cooking the food, the woman should be serving the food, their children to take care of? I mean, they are your children, the both of you. Coming in together and working together as a team, for me, is what is the winner in all this. That we do not have to sit and conflict over small trivial issues, but communicate about them. And for me, where we lose it usually is how we are communicating. I think that is where we get it wrong. Because I could still come and tell you, you know what, honey, I am disappointed with this, or I don't like this. Why did this happen this way? Come from a point of view of understanding why somebody has done the other than bashing at each other. You are stupid. You are what? You don't understand. This is all your fault. The blame game is killing us. But if we are able to come down and sit and conversate, I am a little bit talkative. Yeah? But I am very careful not to communicate when I am angry. And I am very careful not to be misunderstood, because I know out there, anyone will say it is you peace who started the fight. So I make sure I have swallowed everything, I am calm, and I communicate in the most soft way I can and express my dissatisfaction, because I do not want to disrespect someone and for you to say I've disrespected you. But I want you to understand where I am coming from, understand my dissatisfaction. So without you necessarily feeling like I have attacked your ego, but you're able to conversate and tell me, maybe I have misunderstood. Maybe your intention was purely good, but it turned out the opposite way. And I try, I labor, I work on that every day to try and make sure I am moving that direction. Otherwise, you hear people and the way they are speaking back at each other, sometimes the words are very belittling. The men want their ego protected. And how we speak to them is either going to help them uphold it or crush everything. And they will tell you openly, peace, I don't feel like I'm a man. If a woman can stand and speak to me this way, then who am I? And honestly, friends, there are sometimes you hear the words, and you, the woman, you swallow and you are like, no, even me, no, this one, I cannot take it. But if you're speaking to your husband and you're uttering certain words, we need to be mindful, because some words linger in the mind for so long. They crush this person, and it is hard for them to rise up again and feel like they are the man that you think they should be. So we need to just appreciate one another, mind how we are doing our communication, but communication is it. Communicate as much as possible and respect each other. Even me as a woman, I want to be respected. Just as you want to be respected, honestly. No one doesn't want to be respected. But we need to draw our boundaries. If we have issues to sort, we should sort our scores in a more amicable way, in a more respectful manner, in a more civilized manner, in a way that does not crush one another. But we are able to meet, disagree, and agree and move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peace. I think you've summarized it so well. We appreciate. Yes, participants, I'm coming back to you in strictly 1 minute to just give us those parting shots. And Peace, I will ask you to respond to Reverend's question, just only that one question, which is, what do you do? Let me read it as it is. Yes. How can you advise a woman who acts like a leader of opposition in the family? You know what leaders of opposition do in our country, acting on the opposite side. And then we shall have even your party shot.
A woman who acts as a leader of opposition. Honestly, sometimes, friends, some things are more spiritual than just physical. And we do not want to look at things that way. But sometimes this spirit of defiance is just a spirit, honestly, that we need to deal with. You look at somebody's background, where they are coming from. They have grown up in a defiant manner. Don't expect them to come here and be purely submissive and purely, listening to every instruction and, no. Sometimes we need to take these things to the Lord in prayer with all honesty. Honestly, for me, I think those ones there is just a spirit of defiance that has followed them, dressed them, and grown with them. So we need to take some things to the Lord in prayer, because otherwise it becomes difficult. You're going to conflict, or you find the man keeping quiet and saying, let it be her way, and that way we are losing out and the marriages are breaking. So for me, some things we take to the Lord in prayer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Joanne, give us your parting shot, and Robert, and then we shall hear from our brother Dixon giving those closing remarks, and Reverend Benjamin will give us the blessing. Thank you. Joanne, please.
To point out that I want to agree with this, first of all. And I want to point out that when we are studying economics, we already said other factors remaining constant, but they don't. Factors in life do not remain constant. That's why when we are making those vows, we say in sickness, in health, in what else do we say? I've forgotten. It is 34 years ago. But
rich and poor.
For richer, for poorer, I need to revise so that I go back to the settings. Now, when these things happen, it goes back to what we are talking about, friendship and communication. Because life happens. You cannot be an obedient and respectful wife from day one up to 34 years where I am. In the middle, there are a lot of things happen. Now, it depends on how you handle whatever happens. If this friendship is compromised, then there is a problem. There will be a problem. And as they say, opposites attract. Peace is a very talkative person, and you might find the husband is very quiet. Now, sometimes these quiet people are also a problem. He's very quiet, you don't know what he's thinking, and you want to discuss things, and he's keeping quiet, and So we need the grace of God, as she said. And then those women who act as leaders of opposition, I think that is their role. We are supposed to be leaders of opposition in these families because we are different people. This is a man and a woman, so we cannot be on the same side. But we need to know how we handle this opposition. Now, the African man who connects with his wife, plans with his wife, walks with his wife, cooks with his wife. If your mother found you cooking, then you are totally bewitched. So the men they reach a point and they become Africans. I don't know what happens with the whites, but our men, that ego, It will always be there. This is why I said, much as we need to be on equal terms, this is why I said that at some point, the women, because we are the ones who can easily do that, we need to calm down so that for the sake of saving our marriages, sometimes we put in a lot of effort and it is not reciprocated, it is not appreciated. But the women, I think we have more work to do than the men. Because if all of us now act as leader of opposition, then the government will collapse. It will definitely collapse. Because if you say, I'm a man and I need to do this, and I say, I'm a woman, where will you end? So someone needs to calm down and protect and preserve this marriage. Now, I would like to request and suggest that in future we should talk to these children who are growing up, because we are giving this information to people who have been there for 34 years like me. I have almost seen it all, but like we said, I know I have not seen everything. Things are still happening. Every day I'm beginning another phase. Every day I'm learning something new. So we need to talk to the young children. We need to talk to the youth. Some of this information is not out there. The information they get is totally different. This morning I was talking to a colleague and I said, what would you expect from your wife? Because they are young people that have been married about 4 years. And he said his response was, I got concerned. He said, hey, didn't they tell her what to do when she was getting married? Her Senga and her people should have told her what I expect her to do. So in other words, me as a man, I'm not going to tell her what to do. I'm not going to communicate to her. She should have been told by other people. Now, if I'm a Munyankole from Bushenyi, and you expect my Senga to tell me how I should treat somebody else from Lango, or somebody from Buganda, or somebody, even if we are from the same culture, you cannot expect these people to know what you need. So our children need this information, and we need to find a way of reaching a wider audience so that we can save our marriages, because Satan is attacking marriages. And once the marriages are attacked, the families collapse, the children suffer. We bring up a generation which is troubled because of the families which have collapsed. So we need to get these children, especially the young adults, to get this information. We talk to them, you know. We tell them what they should expect. Those who are going into marriage, what happens? When you're going to get married, the expectations are very different from what you find. So we need to get to these people, get to our children, get to our young adults, our Christian girls and boys, talk to them so that we protect the institution of marriage. I want to thank you very much for this fellowship. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Let's hear from Robert.
I am really in total agreement that we actually need to take this information to the young generation. But one of the ways, of course, if we are already in troubled relationships and marriages, that means we are already modeling. We are giving a wrong template to the children that watch us, that see us in our families. So to start with, those of us on this call, I think we have to be intentional. What we model for the children in our homes. That is that's actually the basic starting point for us to influence the next generation, because they will learn from us. And then, of course, clearly from this discussion, we see that there is a model and a template that men have been brought up with, which needs to be dismantled. This model of men cannot express their emotions, this model that men cannot open up. I think it's one of those things that is killing many men. Mentally, they have no, emotionally, they have no outlet, and when they are hit by mental health issues, they actually rarely seek anybody to speak with. And so my take is that I need to be one of that among the few men who, first of all, will not die in my movie alone. I need to open up and speak to someone. But by doing that, also, I think we should create more spaces like this, especially for men, husbands, where husbands can be able to speak out. In most cases, they will dive into their football game, or if they are not Christians, they will go into their drinking place and spend late hours there. And sometimes even while they are there, they are only speaking about how they are doing great. They are putting on a facade, and they are not speaking about the real issues that are eating at them. Why they are not going home in time? Why they are not going to enjoy the wives of their youth, or even their old age? And so I think more spaces have to be created in fellowships, in churches. Such platforms as the Online Church of Uganda have to create more platforms for reaching out, but it has to start with us, probably us inviting another family into our homes and just creating that space where they feel safe to pour out would do a great deal. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, our moderator, Dr. Vincent Chiveru, and to our speakers, our panelists for this evening. Thank you very much. We are so humbled for your wisdom. We are so much grateful for what you've been able to share with us, and especially from your personal experience. And we are really happy that you've been able to tell us more. And I'm sure as men here, we now know what to do. And of course, even as our wives are also here, or as ladies are here, they also need to know what they should do in their marriage and in the lives of their husbands. And of course, now we've been able to know what men surely like most and what they don't like most. And I think that is why we are here to learn and then go and change certain things that we've not been doing well, or remodel those things that have not been perfect in one way or the other. So thank you so much, our panelists, Mr. Mwando, Mrs. Feta, and Mrs. Asimwe. May God bless you so much. And let's keep it here for those who have been able to join us. We're always here every Tuesday and even on Mondays, and we learn a lot of things. Mondays, Tuesday, and Thursdays. Be here at 7 to 8 p.m. And also, we also have daily fellowships from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. We have morning glory 1 to 2 p.m. We have our lunch hour fellowships from Monday to Friday. And then on Friday evening from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. we have overnight. And for our children, they also have their fellowship on Saturday 11 to midday. And then at 3 p.m. we have the youth also having their own fellowship. So if you're here, you have where to belong. You can never be idle. So once again, I want to appreciate you so much, each one of us, for keeping it here for these more than 6 minutes. We cannot take your time for granted, and may God richly bless you so much. Please allow me also to pray for us as we close our night. Father, we thank you so much for our parents this evening and for all of us who've been able to make it, King of Kings. Thank you so much for the wisdom that has been shared here. My prayer, Father, even as we depart from here, King of Kings, I pray that our marriages become stronger and stronger. For those who are struggling in their marriages and they have been able to listen to this gospel, may they go back home and get transformed and put things right with their spouses, of King of Kings. And for those who are still yearning to get married, they are looking for spouses, or God, they are looking for someone who can marry them or whom they can marry, King of Kings. Help them to make very informed choices and right choices for what they are getting into, so that my master, they will avoid a lot of mistakes, of God, that some of us, King of Kings, have done without our knowledge, because we never got such a kind of opportunities, King of Kings. So I pray for this Online Church of Uganda ministry, we continue to become stronger and stronger as you guide us, my master, to bring people here who can come and share their life experiences that can transform us and bless us always, Father. Thank you, thank you. And now as we depart for other prayer, King of Kings, go before us and let your blessings remain with us. Lord, we give you praise and glory. In Jesus' name I prayed and believed. Amen, amen. Thank you, members. You can unmute and we greet each other.